Hello, fellow Transformers. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on wherever you are watching us from. We are here once again, and our agent of transformation is here. As usual, Mrs. Boatemaa, Dr. Osofumame. Yes, so many titles. She wears so many hats, and she does that excellently. I hope that you've been well. It's been a while, and we do believe that you've been. I mean, even though we haven't been here, but you are still in the process of transforming lives, transforming yourself, and transforming others as well. Today, we are talking about what am I here on earth for? Is there not for a reason why you have been placed on this earth and also at this time, at this specific time? Have you been able to identify that yet? Or are you still in the process of finding out why you have been placed on this planet? So, Safumame Boatemaa is here to share with us some thoughts on why we have been placed here on Earth. Hello, Doc. Good morning. I know you're in Ghana and it's around almost 9:30, so it's still morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Mrs. Osei.
It's good to have you here, and thank you for always availing yourself to share with us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. I hope you are doing well.
I am blessed.
Great. Okay, so Mami, today, we are talking about what am I here on earth for? So, what inspired this particular topic?
Well, this is one of the deepest conversations I believe every individual can have with him or herself. And when we are able to have this conversation and we are able to arrive at some good conclusions, it makes a lot of positive impact on our lives. I always like to cite this example. Imagine it's summer and you want to have a vacation, but then you don't really have a destination in mind. So you get your passport, you pack your luggage, and then on the day you get to the airport. Because you haven't planned well, because you didn't have any destination in mind, you don't even have a visa to any country. You get to the airport, then you hear them announcing flights. Then you stand there, oh, you hear a flight going to the Caribbean. Wow, that would be a nice destination. Should I go there? Then you hear one going to Hawaii. Ooh, would I like to go there? In this case, even because you don't have a visa, you would not even be allowed anywhere close to the boarding gate. You know, in your confusion, you might come back disappointed. Meanwhile, maybe you had all the money that could take you. You had packed the nicest clothes, the most suitable clothes, and had all plans for all the fun you could have had. But because you didn't decide well from the beginning and didn't plan, your vacation will end up in a disappointment. You'll be back in your room with nothing happening for you. It's the same with life. If you don't know why you are here, you are not able to plan well, you are not able to put the right measures in place. And if you are not careful, each wind that blows will blow you in a certain direction. Life happens. So whether you plan or not, life will still happen. Sometimes you plan and it doesn't come or it doesn't go the way you plan. But then imagine if you don't have any plan at all, then how do you even know when you are deviating and how do you know when you are failing? So you set up. So that is the basic of life. Knowing your purpose, knowing why you are here, helps you to put certain measures in place, helps you to have certain targets that you're able to work towards. So that is why I believe this is very important and it's a very deep and basic conversation that every individual needs to have with themselves.
Wow, great. Thank you for the insight. Now, I'm glad that you mentioned planning and then knowing your targets. But before we delve deeper in there, how can we know the purpose for which we were placed here? Because before we can plan or have a target, I believe that we have to know first. For example, if you want to travel maybe to Maldives or Italy or anywhere, First of all, you have to have the idea, as you said, the destination in mind before you can plan. But so how do you how do you decide, or how do you know the destination where you have to go before you plan? How can you know that?
Okay. Thanks for that, Akusia. And that is the most difficult part. It is something that I believe it's on an individual level. Even for identical twins who look so much alike, came from the same womb, the same time, it would not be the same for both of them. So it is different for each individual. And it is something that sometimes people can help you to some extent, but it is something you have to find out for yourself. It's quite difficult because you can't really teach. It's not a textbook something. It's something that you need to consciously look for. So what we can help is to give you pointers, some things that can serve as a guide. But in the end, it is your journey. It is a journey that you've got. It's a road that or a path that you've got to travel yourself and discover for yourself. So usually we'll tell people, look at what you are interested in, look at what you are passionate about. Sometimes you are interested in a lot of things, but there are certain things that make your heart skip a beat. There are some things that when you come across, things that you hear, your blood pumps faster. So what is that thing? For some people, it is philanthropy. There are some people who don't even mind selling all they have so they can be good to people. And in the end, they have no regrets. It is something that when they do, they are at peace with themselves. So that is the next thing. That thing that brings you so much peace. So apart from the thing making your heart beat, getting excited, at the end, when it is accomplished too, it brings you peace. And when you are unable to do it, you are not at peace. So those are things that you watch out for. For some people, it is about guiding people, it is about helping, directing people, coaching people. For some, it is working with younger people, serving as a mentor for the younger generation. Those are things that when you do, you really feel fulfilled. Or when you
Mm.
hear there is a need, you are that passionate, you are that excited about. Those are some of the things that you can use to discover why you are here on earth. Like I said earlier, it is not something that someone can do for you. We can only give pointers or things that will serve as a guide to you, but in the end, it is a discovery that you have got to make yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doc. Well, from what you've just said, this is something that gives you peace or make you feel fulfilled. And I believe that this should be something that everyone should desire, because once you have peace or once you feel fulfilled, it makes you feel good and all that. So then, what makes it difficult for us to, not to live up to that? For example, if I know that if I do this kind of thing, it's gonna make me feel fulfilled. What is then stopping me from doing that? Because I should want to be fulfilled, like I would want to feel fulfilled. So why then wouldn't I just go ahead and do these things? What is there? Is there like any blocks or any obstacles that prevents people from, identifying and then moving this kind of fulfillment?
Okay, so there are several dimensions to that. You know, it's good that with this kind of conversation, I believe that if you are a parent, it's something that you need to start. It's a conversation you need to start with your children when they are young. When children are able to identify this, then growing up, it's in their plan. It's something they work at. But for most of us, we never had that opportunity. So you only realized when you grew up. Some of us, like you're saying, we even know that when I do it, I feel fulfilled, but we have not really paid particular attention to it, realizing that it is one of our purposes for being here. So we do it because we know when we do it, it makes us feel good. So we do it at our convenience anyway. As children, as we observe them, and I need to emphasize, even as a parent, you are only a guide. You don't need to necessarily consciously point the child, you need to do this. No, you can drop their attention, you can have that conversation, but leave them to make that final decision for themselves. Okay. So because most of us didn't discover it early and didn't really make that conscious effort to work towards us, that is why we are unable to consistently do it, like you are saying. And the other thing is that life happens, sometimes that is what you need to do, but you've got to survive too. And
Yeah.
then again, it boils to the fact that we didn't discover early, so we haven't really planned. We don't have an active plan for it, So you try to survive first, and then you attend to it. But if it's something that you discover early in life, then you're able to plan it well and incorporate it into your activities and all you do. Then you'll be able to be consistent with it. Because, like you said, the fulfillment it brings to you is something else. But hey, when you are not surviving, your brain even doesn't think about this fulfillment. The brain
Mm.
is wired to make sure you are alive first, because you need to be alive in order to do those things. So because we haven't got a conscious plan for it, then we shift into survival mode and we are not able to pay as much attention to it as required or as we would like to.
Oh, wow. Wow, great. And as you said, for some of us, we couldn't identify that when we were much younger. But is it too late for us, or are there ways of rectifying this thing and then going back to where we were supposed to have started from?
Well, I believe it's never too late. It's never too late. And sometimes it's impossible to go back. But looking at where you are now, what can you do going forward? From now, what can you do? So if you don't know from where we started from, these are some cues that we have looked at that can help you identify what you can do. Okay. So then again, at this age too, apart from looking at what you are passionate about, you look at the skills that you've acquired to how do those skills also fit in? How can people also benefit from what you have? Those are some of the things that you can look at that can help you work towards that direction. So, what we can do is to look at where you are now and what you can do going forward in the future. What can you do to help you get to that destination? So, it is never too late. It is never too late. And as we were saying, if you understand that, it helps with the choices you make. It helps with your plan and all that. When you know why you are here on earth, it helps you to be very grounded. Sometimes even the unnecessary stress we give ourselves comes from the fact that we don't even know why we are here. If I don't know why I'm here and I see Akusia living her life, then I am forced to live like Akusia. If I am not hitting the targets Akusia is hitting, then I feel like a failure because I am measuring myself by Akusia standards. But for all you know, why I'm here is different, totally different from Akusia. If I understand that, then I know I am in no competition with Akusia. Life happens at my own pace, per what I know I am supposed to do. So when I am not moving at that pace, then I am a failure. Not because Akusia is moving at a certain pace, no. Because of where I know I am going, I measure myself by my own milestones that will help me to get to my target. So if you identify it now, even though at this age, like I said, it's never too late. It helps us to become grounded, to avoid that unnecessary stress, and to live our lives in such a way that we are working towards our own targets. And again, I also mentioned it helps with our choices. Sometimes, if some people had even known earlier in life their targets or their calling, what they are here for, maybe certain spouses or certain relationships we would not even have allowed it. But because we were that open and didn't really know what our focus was, we allowed certain things and certain people in our lives. Okay. And even now, well, maybe that's your next question might lead there. But I was saying, if we identify that now, it also helps in our transformational journey that we are on now. Sometimes knowing why you are here or coming to that realization would need cutting off certain things and sometimes certain people or things that you consider as excesses that do not really allow your progress. Sometimes you would need to let go of some of them so that you'd be able to transform, you'd be able to move on to that. Because it is the ultimate. Knowing why you are here and fulfilling it is the ultimate that nothing can compete with. When you arrive at that point, you are at peace with yourself and you have the fulfillment that you need in this life.
Wow. I'm a lot. I'm thinking about so many things because you know, sometimes depending on where one is coming from, you have to go to school, get to some level, get a career, a job or something. Yeah. So let's say that someone has gone through all this process and the person is now a doctor or professor or any kind of any fancy job or any white collar job. The person is well paid, taking care of, has a family, taking care of a lot of things. Now, the person is not happy because even though whatever the person is doing, he's making money, he or she's making money, but that that peace you talked about, that fulfillment you talked about is not there. Now, it's not too late to, make some changes, but then with the financial bit and also with the society, the societal backlash that you are going to, how can one deal with these kind of things? Like, how can you handle these things? You've just realized that no, this isn't for me. Maybe I'm supposed to be like a baker or I'm supposed to be a singer, but you've gotten to you use a different route, a different path. In Ghana, when you are good at school, everyone says go and study science. This one is going to be a doctor. This one you go to law school, do this. So you hear these things, and so as we said, you don't even have the time and the luxury to identify the exact thing that brings you peace. As an adult now, you have found out. Now you want to make changes, but there is this kind of financial responsibility on you. There's also the society looking at you. For all you know, maybe you got scholarship to even study, and so you're expected to give back. Now you wake up one day, you say no, you've realized that you are more fulfilled as a farmer or maybe as a photographer. So how do you deal with this? I mean, disappointment, and then also the
Okay,
financial.
okay. So I think that your question has got three dimensions. The first part being that growing up, people tend to push you in a certain direction where you are not allowed or you are not free to make your own choices. And then you're an adult, and then you find out, do you abandon where you are? And then finally, if you choose to abandon, looking at the societal stigma, the societal pressure, you know, it's never too late. And I think that sometimes it all ties in nicely. I mentioned earlier, if you find your purpose earlier in life, it helps in the kind of programs you even study and all that. But the other side too is that most of these things also require money. So if as an adult, if whether you even found out earlier or you are now finding out you are in a different profession, most of those things you mentioned, the thing that brings you fulfillment, most of them even requires you giving something that you have. It could be giving your time, giving your money, giving your knowledge that you have acquired. So that is why I said it ties in earlier. So if you are passionate about farmer and now you are a doctor, in going to start the farm, you need the seed capital. You need the knowledge, you need the experience, you need the time,
Oh, looks like we've lost Doc.
right? We are back. So it's not always that you need to abandon what you are doing now in order to fulfill your passion. Sometimes you need what you are doing now to finance it, to make it happen.
Oh, oh, looks like we've lost Doc again. So we are talking about what am I
Hi.
here on earth for? Yes, she's back.
Yes. So I was saying, then again, it depends on what your purpose is. So when you look back, there are some that you can combine. If you are combined, then you are good to go. Once you've got that going along what your actual profession or what you've developed yourself into is fine. Those that you need to really abandon where you are now and then redirect. Though even with that, you need to be strategic. Like I was saying, you still got to survive. And most of these things are stuff that are not going to bring you income. Some do. Don't get me wrong, some do. But you've got to have a plan in place. So if it means abandoning, it might not mean abandoning all of a sudden. But then you've got to have a sustainable plan. How am I going to survive? How am I going to start this new thing I'm going into? So you need to sit down, plan well before you launch into it. And then the final part that you were asking about what society will say. Well, sorry to disappoint you. Society will always have something to say. Whether you do it right, why are you doing it right? You are doing it too right. If it's wrong, you are doing it. So we've got to also learn how to block out society. At the end of the day, can society provide the peace you are seeking for? At the end of the day, it's a society that puts food on your plate. Society will always have an opinion, but it is said that those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. We've got to learn that. And I think that as parents bringing up children, it is one of the things that we've got to let our children know. Society will always have an opinion. There is nothing we can do about it. But how you allow society's opinion to influence you, how you allow that to take a toll on you, is your responsibility. So, and getting there, I think, is one of the things to learning to block out what society says. So long as what you are doing is right, so long as it's something that is not hurting anyone, so long as it is something that is right with God, I think that we shouldn't let what society has to say influence us so much.
Great. So long as what you are doing is right, so long as God approves it, and so long as it brings you peace, forget the naysayers and go ahead and get it done. Great. Um, I think we still have more time. So we can talk a little bit more about the planning bit. Now you know your destination, you know where you are going to, you know the purpose for which you were placed on this earth. So, what's the way forward? How do you plan? How do you go about that to achieve that?
Okay, so we are different. Some people know where they want to go right from the word go. They know how they are going to get there and they work towards it, and everything falls right into place that way. But it happens that way for very few people. You know, life is not black and white. Sometimes you know the destination, but the road in between you have no idea.
Mm,
But with my little experience, what I've come to realize is that when you know where you are going, when you get to a point and you are stuck, once you have a vision, you know where you are going, you don't turn and go back, you don't give up because you know where you want to get to, right? So you find a way around that obstacle that you have faced and then you move on. But if you don't have any targets, once you face any obstacle, you turn and go back. I mentioned earlier, for most of these passions, you've still got to survive. You've still got, most of us have got a family to take care of. You've got fees to pay and all that. So if it involves that financial commitment, you need to see ahead. So that is the key word here. It is not just about the current state. You need to see ahead of you in the next year, in the next 2, 5, 10 years. How is it going to be? And then you look at how planning, you look at your financial commitments, you look at your time and all that. I mentioned for some, you can do this thing, fulfilling your purpose, your passion alongside what you are doing. For some people, it is merged into one thing. For some, it means abandoning where you are now and starting all over something somewhere else. All right. So it depends on what you are doing. That will inform the kind of planning that you need to do. But it all boils down to looking into the future, looking at the possible challenges. You know, you always need to think a step ahead of where you are. That is what planning is all about. So
mm,
you look at the possible challenges that can come. You have possible measures. Like I said earlier, it's always that it doesn't always work out, you know. But sometimes when you have something like that, then it helps you. even in the midst of challenges, you know something you have tried that didn't work out anyway, so you have other options to take a look at. So when you're able to envisage the future, then you look at the possible challenges that can come. Then you look at what your expectations, the outcomes that you are expecting. Okay,
Mm,
so then they will all tie in into how you work towards it, and then how am I going to move from step A to step B. Sometimes when you know what you need to do, you may need to acquire certain skills, to
mm.
come to that fulfillment. So how am I going to acquire those skills? What investments do I need to make? All those things that will help you know which um, plans that you need to put in place to get you there.
Okay, great. So I know some motivational speakers usually say that when you find something that's you like your talent or so, okay, it comes easy with you, or it's like it comes natural to you. Does that mean that once you identify the purpose for which you were placed here, there are no challenges at all because, well, I was meant to do this, and so I'm supposed to have a smooth ride in achieving that. Or even though something may be your purpose, but there are still some challenges and obstacles that you need to overcome.
Right. It's true, but it's not always that it comes naturally to you. There are some things that when you hear, you are very excited about, and it's one thing that discourages most of us. You are very excited about that thing, you would want to do it, but then you don't know how to do it. So then you leave it. But it's something that you would love to. Okay. There are some like that. It means that you require training. There are some that come naturally to us. There are some that you require training for. And some people will tell you the kind of investments they needed to make in order to build themselves to where they are, in order to work towards their goal. So there are two sides. There are the natural ones, and there are the ones that you require training for. And even for the ones that come naturally to us, you still need to polish. Diamond is found naturally, but I bet you and I might walk past a raw diamond because of the way it is,
Mm,
because it is not polished. The diamond you see in shops have been worked on, they have been polished. Gold needs to be refined. So even if it comes naturally to you, it is in the raw state and it is not attractive to anybody. It doesn't really serve any purpose until you have worked on it. That is when it begins to shine. That is when you get that high price for it. So if it doesn't come naturally, you need to work, you need to invest. If it comes naturally, you still need to work, you need to polish it. That is it. And the other thing is that the fact that it comes naturally to you doesn't mean that you will not have challenges. And that is why I mentioned the need to plan. If you don't
mm,
come to that understanding, then you would, and a lot of people have hit that part and you realize, oh, did I make a mistake? Not necessarily. Sometimes there are mistakes, fine, but sometimes there are no mistakes and we were actually on the right path. But just because we didn't plan well, just because we didn't put in measures, we didn't envisage what could go wrong, what could happen in the future. We didn't have any alternatives to those challenges. And so when they came, they met us raw and hard. We were so
mm.
hard hit that we couldn't survive, we couldn't get up again. So the challenges are bound to come. But then if you know they will come and you are very determined, knowing where you are going, then you also plan well, then you are resilient enough. So no matter what comes. And I tell you, as each of those challenges come and you over, it's part of the journey. It also brings you that kind of fulfillment. Each of them has its own fulfillment and satisfaction it brings you as you overcome each of them and as you get closer to where you're going, or as you get to do what you know you're meant to do more. You get that excitement and that fulfillment in life.
Wow, great. I agree because just like footballers, some footballers or many footballers are very talented, but they still need to train when they have a match.
Yeah.
So yes, even though it may be your purpose, it may come naturally, but there's also the work aspect. Yeah, I know that in the coming weeks we are going to talk more about this, the steps that we need to follow, and then how we can overcome the obstacles that may come our way, so that we don't give up. And then at the end of our life, we would know and feel that indeed, for whatever purpose we were placed here, we have been able to achieve them. So for now, I would like Doc to give us her final remarks. and then we continue another time. Have we lost Doc? It looks like
No, I'm here.
she's here. Okay.
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, so we want you to give us your final
I
thoughts.
think I missed. Okay. All right. Sorry, I missed that part earlier. Right. So, like I said, I believe that we've been able to excite somebody. I hope that we've been able to get someone going to sit down and have that deep conversation. It's all about life. If we don't know why we are here, then what's the purpose of being here anyway? So knowing why we are here helps us to live our lives in a certain way with a certain purpose. So if we haven't discovered that, then I would encourage you as you watch this, as you go back, give it a few thoughts, play it around your mind and see how have you lived your life so far? Are there things that you gravitate naturally to? Are there things that excite you? Let's identify those ones and let's work at it. If you have identified it too, but then you haven't really made much progress, I want to also encourage you that it is never too late to start. It's always, they say it's always better late than never. So give it a thought. See how you can plan. Some of us also know we've known for a while, but we've never really taken the steps. But like I said, it starts with a plan. So sit down, think about it. How can you start working towards that? There is always a stage. And remember that in life, you are in competition with no one else but yourself. And I always say that make sure that your today is an improvement over tomorrow, and your tomorrow is an improvement over today, and today is an improvement over yesterday. Each day should be better than the previous day. And when we take it that way, take it one step at a time, definitely we'll make some progress. Definitely we'll work towards that direction and we'll see that positive transformation we are expecting in our lives.
Wow. Thank you, Doc. Remember that your today is supposed to be an improvement of your yesterday, and you are in competition with only you and you. Thank you so much for availing yourself, Doc. We hope to have you consistently in the coming weeks. And thank you so much, viewers. We hope that we've been able to inspire you, and you are going to continue to be an agent of change. Thank you and see you next time. Bye.
You too. Bye bye.